Alright, my audio and visual might not be absolutely perfect in this video. That's because I wanted to actually record it with a camera. I like associating a face, or at least partial face, with this channel occasionally because I think it's important. It's a humanizing element, something we all lack in our lives, actually often. Joker. Ugh. Now, you might think my sigh is at the movie. It's not. It's not at all. It's at the media coverage of this movie. It has been such a train wreck. It's so stupid. Will Joker cause the dreaded incel? Ooh, the incel hiding underneath everyone's bed and in their garage to come out of the woodwork and maybe kill some people? The answer is no. No, it won't. I think it's pretty obvious that if someone is mentally unhinged enough to kill people over fiction, they were already mentally unhinged enough to kill people. The fiction has nothing to do with it. They'll find that inspiration from anywhere. I'm going to have to go back and forth between camera and pre-recorded audio because I had a lot of audio issues, but Warner Brothers finally banned the press from conducting red carpet interviews during the Joker. And I could not be happier. I'm so tired of the narrative of this movie. As far as, like, the narrative that Joker, the film, is going to somehow inspire someone to commit a mass shooting who, I guess, would not have done so already for some reason until they saw the Joker. Like, they were just totally rational and sane. They walked out of this movie and they're like, wait, I can't make it to study group on Friday night because I need to kill some people. I've just gotten really tired of that. So thank God WB's finally just banned these morons from going and doing interviews on the red carpet of this film. Essentially, what ended up happening was after just a relentless barrage of this narrative and of what I would argue are almost slanderous pieces about the movie that pretty much everyone writing about hasn't seen yet outside of a handful of critics, and Joaquin Phoenix walking out of an interview because, well, he's an actor and he's not paid to answer stupid questions. Finally, WB got tired of it and they just said, okay, no more, we're done. Now only photographers will be allowed access to the red carpet, which I'm really happy about. And Variety's editor-in-chief Claudia Eller reacted to the news writing, "Are you kidding me? Is this unprecedented?" And honestly, it's really funny to me because it's like you crap on something over and over again, then you're surprised when they don't want you to come cover it. This is the way of the world, I'm sorry. And I don't really think that there has been a discussion about the Joker. I think it's just been very, very one-sided. So WB gave the following statement. "A lot has been said about Joker, and we just feel it's time for people to see the film." I totally agree. I think it's ridiculous because it's getting criticism from people who haven't seen the movie. And you could say, on the other hand, well, you're defending the movie, you haven't seen it either. You're right. I'm defending the right for the movie to exist and fighting against the idea that art causes violence. That's been disproven time and time again. I do want to clarify real quick. I don't think the question is the problem. I don't think asking the question, could the movie incite violence, is really the problem. I think the problem's the narrative. I don't think there's been a fair discussion. Now, if there was just the question, and then there was the chance to respond, that would be fine. Originally, when the question was asked to Joaquin Phoenix and he walked out, I understand that that's kind of like well, he doesn't have a response. Okay, fine. One, he doesn't have to. But two, point taken. However, when he came back and gave this statement... Well, I think that for most of us, you're able to tell the difference between right and wrong. So I don't think it's the responsibility of a filmmaker to teach the audience morality or the difference between right and wrong. I mean, to me, I think that's obvious. The narrative never changed. When Todd Phillips came back and gave this statement,
The movie makes statements about a lack of love, childhood trauma, lack of compassion in the world. I think people can handle that message. It's so, to me, bizarre when people say, oh, well, I could handle it, but imagine if you can't. It's making judgments for other people, and I don't even want to bring up the movies in the past that they've said this about, because it's shocking and embarrassing when you go, oh my god, do the right thing. They said that about that movie too. I think it's because outrage is a commodity. I think it's something that has been a commodity for a while. What's outstanding to me in this discourse, in this movie, is how easily the far left can sound like the far right when it suits their agenda. It's really been eye-opening for me.
The narrative never changed. Again, it's the same narrative. The same pieces were pushed over and over again, asking about, will this cause a mass shooting? Will the dreaded boogeyman incel who's hiding behind every corner, waiting under your children's bed, show up at the theater to kill them? Or you, if someone's at the Joker? It's silly. It's fear-mongering. I really agree with what Todd Phillips said. Fear is a commodity. It's very easy to sell the press and to sell news on fear. It's a lot harder to sell it on good journalism. And I really don't think there's anything linking this to any act of violence. At the same time, I know there was the whole story with the Aurora shooting victims' family, the families, and how they sent a letter, some of them, to WB, petitioning to them, which I'd like to read a little bit of here.
The Aurora shooting, perpetrated by a socially isolated individual who felt wronged by society, has changed the course of our lives. When we learned that Warner Brothers was releasing a movie called Joker that presents the character as a protagonist with a sympathetic origin story, it gave us pause. We want to be clear that we support your right to free speech and free expression. But as anybody who has seen a comic book movie can tell you, with great power comes great responsibility. That's why we're calling on you to use your massive platform and influence to join us in our fight to build safer communities. Keep everyone safe should be a top corporate priority for Warner Brothers. Since the federal government has failed to pass reforms that raise the standard for gun ownership in America, large companies like Warner Brothers have a responsibility to act.
And while I don't really want to get into taking this letter apart and dismantling it, because I think even though I have the right to do that, I think it's kind of insensitive and unfair. Because maybe if my son or daughter had passed, or been close to passing because of an event like this, maybe I would have had the same feelings. I didn't, because that didn't happen to me. So I don't think I should really go into dismantling this letter. But what I will say is, I don't think a company owes to lobby for anything. They're a money-making company. I think any company that really tells you that they stand for this particular issue, a lot of times it's brownie points. So the fact that WB is not really going out there and doing that, at least as of recording this, I just see it as more honest than anything. And secondly, this also was used to push this narrative. What I mean by that is that there was another story the same day or the day after about another father of an Aurora shooting victim who said this.
This was in an article with TMZ. The father was a man named Mike. I don't really want to give his last name, even though it's out there. You can find it. I don't really think it's tasteful. In the interview, TMZ states what he said, which was, he says Katie, his daughter, who was in the theater but did not pass during the original Aurora shooting, he says Katie would have been able to separate the movie from real life, and Mike believes those who can't are part of the problem. He adds that violent people exist regardless of whether Joker comes out, and people who have issues with the film don't have to see it. Mike says he plans to see the movie and thinks his daughter would have too. Sadly, Katie died last year by suicide. He says she struggled with mental health issues before the shooting, and she recognized the biggest epidemic in this country is a lack of mental health care, not movies.
Now, this story was covered, but it wasn't covered nearly as much or in as much detail. And it didn't get the circulation that the rest of this narrative has gotten. And to me, that's just proof that this is not a discussion. This is not a question answer. This is not a, hey, we kind of just wonder this, what do you think? It's a, no, this will do this, and we're posing it as a question. to try to seem like we're having a discussion. In a discussion, you listen. Joaquin Phoenix and Todd Phillips had answers. Maybe they didn't immediately. Maybe they should have expected a huge backlash to this movie because it's modern day and for some reason society just blames violence and all its problems on things that are innocuous and have nothing to do with it. Maybe they should have been able to understand that and see that ahead of time. I don't blame them for not seeing it. I think Phillips put it best when he said this.
We didn't make the movie to push buttons. I literally described to Joaquin at one point in those 3 months as like, look at this as a way to sneak a real movie in the studio system under the guise of a comic book film. It wasn't, we want to glorify this behavior. It was literally, let's make a real movie with a real budget and we'll call it effing Joker. That's what it was.
The point was to make a movie. That was the point. The point was to make a movie. The movie itself asks questions. To then point to the movie and say, your movie is causing bad, when the movie hasn't even come out yet, is silly. To me, as someone who has had to study criminology, if there is any kind of violent act following this movie, if anybody in real life commits a violent act in the name of the Joker character or the Joker movie, personally, I will not blame the movie. There's 2 reasons. The first is every individual is pretty much responsible for their own actions. That's how it works. There's a reason why when someone commits a crime, they go to prison. You and I don't. The person who made a movie that they might have watched the day before they did that thing, don't. It's the person who's responsible for those actions. The second reason, the media is setting a stage for a violent act after this movie. They might not know that they're doing it, but they are. Because the way that a lot of these people's minds work, mass shooters and killers who kill on this large scale, it's in order to be noticed. It's because they want to be remembered. The Columbine shooters, a lot of people know their names still. I don't want to say them. I do know them. And I don't think it's worth giving human garbage like that the time of day. Because that's what they want. And I guarantee you that if there is any kind of violence after this movie, or giving credit to the movie, it will be because of the media. Because they will report on it. They will give the person the stage that they want. The person will be remembered by them, and by you and by me, because it's so easy to sell outrage. And it's easy to sell terrible things that happen every day. It's harder to sell positives. It's harder to sell neutral news. There's a reason why news is now partisan. There's a reason why news is widely reported to push narratives. And there's a reason why you and I remember bad things that happen to us. We're wired to. The news will give whoever commits any kind of mass shooting or mass violence a platform. Over and over. It's been shown every time. And I think until that changes, you're going to keep seeing it. Now, I really hope that doesn't happen involving this, but if it's not this, it'll happen with something else. And they'll give the coverage to that person too. Because it's easier to get you to tune in again the next day or read the next article if there's always something to be afraid of. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and comment if you agree or disagree. You know, I want discussion. I'm not a monetized channel, at least right now. In a video like this, I would not monetize anyway. But I want to know what you think. I'll see you in the next one. I'm really sick of all this crap. Peace.